In my world, pistol skills attrit by 10%, 2 steps off the range. Shooting really well, I take 2 steps off, I've already lost 10% of my capacity.
Welcome to the Triple P Podcast, premier, professional, and proactive, brought to you by the Ohio Fire Chiefs Association. I'm your host, Clayton O'Brien, and I'm the fire chief for the city of Oregon. I'll get into episode number 31, I believe is what we're going to be at, with Thom Shea, who is the author of Unbreakable. So welcome to the Triple P Podcast. We're super excited to have Thom here with us. Thom, I had actually listened to you first through the War Stories podcast. And once I heard your story on there, I just had to reach out to you on LinkedIn. Immediately bought your book Unbreakable and 3 Simple Things. And due to the fact that they're both audio books, I was able to get through both of those books just driving in the vehicle. So a lot of great content there. We have a list of questions that we really want to know from you and excited to hear and share. So I do have our co-host here, Josh Eberly, with us today from Findlay Fire. And you ready to get into it, Josh?
Yeah, I'm super excited too, because I've been, big fan of the military and especially special operations, different groups. That's always been kind of I've studied a lot, read a lot of books about it. So it's really an honor to have you here. And I think there's a lot of parallels between the fire service and the military in general. But especially when you get into the special operations and some of especially the leadership type things, I think there's a lot of parallels there.
So, Thom, share a little bit about your story when we first start. You were a Navy SEAL for, if I remember, some in the 20-some year range. And so let's just start there. If you want to give the audience a little bit of an introduction of who you are.
Well, I spent 23 years in the SEAL teams, and I retired in 2014, and of those 23 years, I was in 6 different combat deployments. And you were asking before, hey man, how many times were you in Hell Week, which is the stupidest part of training. It's a week-long period of training that lasts forever, Sunday to Friday with 2 hours of sleep. And I had the dubious honor to not make it through 4 and finally make it through my 5th one. And my wife has, when I was writing the book Unbreakable, she took a tally of how many hours of active combat I was in, and it ended up being 2,700. And I'm like, man, how many days is that? I'm like, I can't believe that. I actually knew it was that bad because I was gone during my career 10 months a year from my family, either deployed or overnight stuff. And the audience cannot, and you guys probably imagine if you were gone from your in station house for 10 months, not going home. It creates a weird environment, great for SEALs because SEALs love it. It's just bad to be a human being because you're not. You're an operator and you operate, and the mindset is unique. As you guys know, when you're on call, you're a different human being than you are when you're home. And but I loved it. I actually loved the teams. It was much harder getting out than it was staying in. So it's probably a great place to start.
Yeah, that is a great place to start. And, when you take that away of you put it in the perspective that you're an operator, you're this different mindset when you were deployed. And it was one of the things I took away from your book, that sometimes even when you were maybe falling a little bit back out of that realm, it was your wife, Stacy, that kind of reset you and you'd always refer to that, don't fear dying. Because it'll make you weak. And when you really put in that into perspective, that is so true in so many ways with even the fire service. I kind of applied the same rule of just general life. Anything that you do, if you're nervous doing it, you usually make a mistake. So that's why I've always kind of captured as the chief of a department, to try to create an environment where people are comfortable being themselves. because that's how they're going to be able to really flourish and do their things. And I applied the same thing as there, is that you need to operate and don't fear dying, because that's going to make you weak. And that is so true.
Mm. Yeah. I tried to write that in such a way that somebody that wasn't a SEAL could read it. And that was the actual phrase that my wife Stacy had said to me before my final deployment, because, going to Afghanistan when we did was, I knew as a chief, I'm probably not going to bring everybody home, because we were tasked to go in and not do foreign internal development. It's called FID. We're not to work with the natives. We're not to develop, crops and all that stuff that some of the military does. Go in and you guys kill as many Taliban as you can. And here's the list of people we want you to go after. So in talking to Stacy, I'm like, honey, I don't know if I'm going to come back. I just have to be honest. I'm not going to pull wool over your eyes. And it was rough on her. And then she's like, hey, come home with on your shield or carrying the damn thing. And you feeling like you're not doing us justice isn't going to help the guys. So just go to war. And she liked it. She liked to hear all about it, which is, I don't know if your wives like to hear all the burn stuff, but she loved all the conversations. And so I didn't have to hide from that, but it was unique going into combat as a boss, as a tactical leader, knowing that, and you'd mentioned another phrase, every time you go into combat, and if you have heard this or read about it, as a SEAL, you have to realize you're not going to come out. You're not going there to defend something. You're going to go in there and you're going to go into such harsh conditions that if you don't want to be there, if you're looking for a way out, you'll find it. And so I had been in so many combat engagements up to that. You're like, okay, I would take my ring off, set it on my computer in on my desk. And I'm not a father right now. I'm a bad guy going to go do bad stuff for a small period of time. Let's go. And I wouldn't think about my family very much while I was in combat.
That if you think about it, and maybe you realized it at the time, in hindsight for sure, that was quite a gift that she provided you, because she wanted you to focus 100% on what you were doing so you could come home. But, that was freedom for you, right? So you don't have to worry about stuff at home, and she's specifically telling you not to do that so you can focus on what you need to do. That's quite a powerful gift that she gave you.
Yeah, it was also learned by not doing it right the first few deployments that I was on. And the easiest way to get kicked out of a combat deployment is to have trouble at home that the bosses hear about. So that's actually why there's so much divorce in the SEAL teams, because guys don't know what to do when there's conflict at home. So out. You see y'all. If you're here when I come back, I'll figure it out. And I had seen so many gifted operators have problems at home, whatever they would be, and they would lose a step in combat. And you're like, bro, you're going to get us killed. See you. Go home, protect yourself and protect us. And Stacy was aware of that, because she was kind of not that way in our first one. And she's like, go for it. And that's why the book was written. Every time you go out, make a note of all the things that you wanted us to know, or that you're learning that, man, I'm not going to be here to teach the kids anything. Tell me some things before you go out the door. So I'd make a list of this, that, and the other things that I was going through that I wanted the kids or Stacy to know, that then became written into all the 13 lessons from Unbreakable.
Which I thought was the coolest thing. Like, it was just, letters back to home, telling all the things that happened. It was never, set out to be the book Unbreakable. It's not like you just sat down and wrote a book when you got back. This is things that, Stacy had, kind of went around you, essentially, you said, right? And went through the military and got it all approved. And essentially now here we are.
Well, yes. So I got back in 2009, October, and I retired in 14. So when I got back, it just sat in emails and letters and, written in crayon and, stuff. And she said, hey, why don't you compile that into a manuscript? And a lot of people don't know this. Prior to going into SEAL teams, I had gone to West Point. And I was at West Point for 3 years, and I failed out in English. So when Stacy said, hey, write a manuscript like it's easy, I'm like, honey, I'd rather go back into combat. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So like all good people that don't know what they're doing, I love Stephen King. So I'm like, well, in the SEAL teams, if we want to learn something, we hire experts to come in and teach us. And like even extricating people from buildings and vehicles, we go to the police department. We don't know what they're doing, or the fire department. And so I'm like, you know what? On a whim, I'm going to fly up to Maine, see if I can meet Stephen King.
That's awesome.
So I flew up there, found out where he lived, walked up to the door, knocked on it, and he opened the door. I was like, damn, now what do I do?
God,
that's crazy.
And I said, hey, I want to write a book. I'm a knuckle dragger. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And great advice. He goes, writers write, just write. And he said another thing, don't let anybody read it until you're done. And which I made it through about 3/4 of the book. I let my dad read it. He goes, that's kind of stupid. And it sat for 3 months. I'm like, well, if he thinks it's stupid, why even continue? And so I picked it back up at Stacy's, might as well complete it. Let's just get it done. So it was originally written under the title Spartan Woman. And after I completed it, we got 5 copies and printed it out in a bound book called Spartan Woman. I don't even know where they are now. Because, they just went to friends. Mm-hmm. And then I retired and she's like, hey, our book's on Amazon. It's like doing really well. And I'm like, so I was looking on my phone for Spartan Woman. I'm like, there's no Spartan Woman, honey. She goes, no, it's Unbreakable, Navy SEAL's Way of Life. I'm like, why did you do that? Why did you put Navy SEAL on it? She's like, well, we sold it to a publishing house and they did all the editing and title. And I was like, oh my God, now I got to be that SEAL who wrote a book. But I'm glad we did all that.
Yeah, it's an impact for sure.
It turned out well, and it's interesting how it started. And you said you kind of compiled all these things together, that you had noted over the years, but it really turned into not only kind of your own history, but it also turned into just life lessons in general for a way of life. And I think that's applicable. You may have wrote it for your kids or to document things that you did, but it turned into this manual for life lessons. So I think that's a great result, that you didn't really intend to. And sometimes those are the best ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Tom,
I wish I had the strategic mind to go, hey, if you do this, then this is the second step. And never thought it would end up where we had to take it. So the book comes out, get on a speaking tour. I have the gift of gab, so doing a keynote was cool. A bunch of leaders of companies would say, hey, do you have a leadership program? And what do you want? And they're like, well, I read your book. I want to learn those lessons in the book. And I'm like, shit, I don't know if anybody's going to be able to learn them. They're hard. Like lesson 1, very hard. Lesson 3, I ended up putting a program together. Lesson 3 in the book is walk for 24 hours.
Oh, yeah.
You want to see how stupid you are? Walk for 24 hours. Can you do something simple for 24 hours without catastrophically falling apart? And so now we do about 3 a year. And it is an education every time on what's really stopping human beings is they talk themselves out of everything. And they believe it. I can't go on. Yeah, you can go on. If I had a gun to your head, would you go on? Yes, you can go on. So stop all this, what I call internal dialogue, and just get to it. And then I ended up developing a leadership program. that I've trained 682 people to date.
Wow.
That's fantastic. That's something I learned after doing a little bit of research, that it wasn't just the books, that you had the leadership training that you offer. Typically, when people take you up on that, and the people that you've trained in that, is that a company hires you for leadership development for a specific group, or is it an individual that comes to you, or how does that work?
I wish it had gone to a whole company comes in and pays me a bunch of money to do stuff.
Yeah.
No, it was one person at a time. It's evolved into groups. I'll do that on a request, but all individuals.
Yeah.
And it's about 6 months long. Meet 3 times. It's a day of training with homework and follow-up, and then another day of training with homework and follow-up, and it's evolved or devolved into the final training is you and I will do a project together, and I'll use all my resources and network, and you use all yours, and we'll mature something into something that either we can sell or mature, and you can take it. That's how I look at it. Yeah.
That project's not a 700-mile adventure race, is it?
No.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, "Hey, I want to go to a SEAL event. I'm not in shape, bro." It's not that. You will get in shape in my program. That's one of the foundational principles. You have to be healthy. And you guys know that.
Yeah.
If you're going to live a great life and you don't have health as one of the cornerstones, you can't make enough money to overcome bad health. And it's a simple problem to overcome. And it's obviously a business proposition as well, to make money or to get out of this job and build another one or whatever, or to lead or whatever the factor is. What I didn't know 10 years ago was it's a relationship program. How do you become a really great husband? Because most guys suck. I sucked at it. And so now that's one of the one of the foots of the stool is when you're great at home, you're 7 times greater at work. And if you're bad at home, you're 7 times
True.
To the negative.
We see that in the fire service 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And we talk about that even as in our roles as chiefs. And we talked about that a little bit yesterday, just saying that, being a good dad and a father at home just leads into the same, how you lead your people at the fire department. And there's just so much connection to that on the respect level and the way that you conduct, yourself at home compared to, here too.
Yep. And learning that you're going to fail until you win.
Yep.
At home, physically, at work. Most people hate failure. Well, and you probably have same thing at the fire department, I would assume. Not risk averse. You have to go into risky situations to learn something. You can stay outside and launch water from out here, but you're not going to get anywhere.
That's right.
And so I learned that in the SEAL teams is you push until things fall apart and learn by the falling apart or the failing mechanism of it all. And that became a way of looking at everything, especially as a dad. Your kids screw up everything until they stop. And then they figure it out. In the SEAL teams, you never win, ever. Training never lets you win. You never have a sense in SEAL training from the time you walk in the door until the time you're actually in combat. Is the only place you win. It's your only experience of winning. In training, whether it be land warfare or CQC or diving, you'll train to a standard, and then they'll give you something where it falls apart. And you didn't do this well, go back in and do it until you can do it well. So that's training.
We talk a lot about fire training here. Clayton and I do. And that's why it's so important. So hopefully you can get those failures out of the way in training. So when you're actually out on the emergency scene, there's much less of a risk exposure there. If you've failed multiple times in a training scenario,
Well, multiple failing times in the training always forces them to try to find another way to be able to, still accomplish whatever that is. It's so if you're constantly having to like, okay, I ran into this roadblock, I got to shift over here because we have no idea what that roadblock's going to be out there. Much like you guys in combat, that the only way that you win, same like us, the only time that we win is when that house fire is out, everybody goes home safe, and that's a win. And sometimes I refer to it as, and I know it sounds a little not the greatest as it comes out, but I'll refer it to as sometimes as a morale booster, and you say, oh yeah, we went on a morale booster. Well, a morale booster being that, it was a house fire, and I get that there's devastation and things to, somebody's property and things of that happens. But what the morale booster does is reconfirm all those things that they've been doing in training to that winning portion. And once you get that, then you can just constantly build upon and keep moving on.
Yeah. It's more of a perspective thing coming out and seeing that most people are so risk averse, they won't let themselves fail. Think Michael Phelps. All Michael Phelps did was fail. He'd go in the pool and fall apart. And once you understand, you're supposed to do that. You're not supposed to have a great swim where, man, that was awesome. I was trimmed out. My kick pattern was great. I felt the water. I breathed perfectly. I didn't cough once. Well, you didn't learn shit from that, bro.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What happens when you're sick?
Yep.
What happens when the Olympics come and you have 102 fever?
Right.
This is your day. You got to go. And as a young SEAL, you're trying to be perfect. You're trying to be number one. You're trying to break out. You're trying to, not let anybody see that you can't do something. And the veterans are like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You think you can do that? Go ahead. See how far you can go.
Fire service is the same way.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, especially when you're young and you get a tiny bit of experience and you do well, or you finish your firefighter 2 training here in the state of Ohio.
Can I segue into something real quick with Tom with what he's doing with that? Because Tom, when we talk about failing in training all this multiple times, during those times that firefighters, I'm sure young Navy SEALs, that what you refer to in your book is about the internal dialogue. During all those times, you're having this conversation in your head while I'm failing at this training, how much and why I should quit, why I shouldn't be here, I need to go home, this is stupid, all those types of things. Can you dive into what you truly mean about internal dialogue and how I felt like that was one of the most impressive things that I read in your book of how self-aware you were of the things you were doing that was holding you back. And I think that in the fire service with the new individuals that are coming into us and even current veteran complacent individuals that have been constantly telling themselves that they're the best of the best, and really their internal dialogues or their conversation that they're having may not be so true. So
at first pass, so internal dialogue is a conversation that you have to yourself about you. Like when you look in the mirror, it's probably easier to talk about that. When women look into the mirror, what do they really say about themselves? I'm hot or I'm fat.
That's right.
And it's an authentic conversation. They may say, wow, I'm pretty, but they see all their blemishes in having a hot wife. She doesn't see herself as hot. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
No,
so
exactly.
That internal thing is far different than the external, facade that you put on. So it's what you say to yourself about you, and everybody has a conversation about themselves, about the environment that they're about ready to go into. And I'm not ready for this. This sucks. Why am I here? It's I hate the word, but it's an epistemological conversation. It's a human conversation. You're never fully available to the moment if you're looking at yourself. If I'm analyzing myself, God, I'm not great, I could be better, you're not present. So as long as you're doing that, you're playing, with percentage less than being fully present. All they want you to do in the SEAL teams is stop paying attention to yourself. Stop paying attention to yourself. Okay, you got your leg blown off. Nobody fucking cares, bro.
Yeah.
I care. I know it hurts. I know 3 guys just died. We have stuff to do, because if we don't do it, all that conversation that you're having will probably come true very quickly. And it's just a difficult, it's my way of trying to figure out how to talk to my kids about this. You're never going to think you're good. Stop paying attention to that. And the only reason I started realizing that was going through so many multiple Hell Weeks. Hell Week, and I probably have to segue into this, it's designed by a guy named Draper Kaufman prior to World War II, tasked by the president to take people into a beachhead. The president had said, I want you to go in and blow up all those underwater obstacles so that we can land. And I know you're not going to make it. You're going to lose everybody because it's under fire. If you remember the Tom Hanks movie where they're landing on the beach under fire,
yeah,
the SEALs were there before that. People don't recognize that. They were there to blow up the lane so those stupid boats could make it in. And so he was tasked with that. And he said, okay, President, give me carte blanche. Let me do it my way. And he put together Hell Week as a way to get rid of everybody who's going to talk themselves out of going. If you're going to talk yourself out of it, I'm going to give you 1,000 ways to talk yourself out. I'm going to freeze you. I'm going to cuss at you. I'm going to make you feel tired. Are you going to keep fighting to be back into this 1 second moment, the next moment, the next moment, the next moment? And the people who make it through Hell Week have only one skill. They stop talking themselves out of it. It doesn't make any fucking sense to anybody. It's the stupidest thing you can do as a human being is go into Hell Week. Psychological twists you. It probably kills your hormones. If they had so many studies done, you're having cardiac problems in Hell Week. If they were to track your heart rate, you're having a heart attack 2 or 3 times a day, and you're freezing, and your balls go up inside it. I don't know if you've ever been that cold. It's catastrophic. So Draper, I want somebody who's just not going to talk themselves out of it. It's not, hey, we're doing this for the right reason. There's no reason to go into combat. Who knows why we're there? But who wants to go? I want to go. Okay. So now if you have somebody who's not going to talk themselves out of it, you can train him to do anything. You literally can train somebody who's not going to quit anything. So the rest of SEAL training is now to teach you skills that are also equally stupid. How to shoot somebody and how not to be, make that a problem, and how to be tired and how to work with other people who hate each other. Nobody in the SEAL platoon likes each other. They don't. They're all alphas and they're all criminals. They should be in jail. Most of them should be in jail. And when it gets ticked on, when you load your magazine and your gun, the guy next to you is the only thing that matters. And he made a point of that. Fight towards each other, not the enemy, and don't quit. And that is the kind of the base foundation of being a SEAL that I tried to write into the book. Mm-hmm. And what if you just don't quit? To my sons or my wife and my daughter. My daughter took it to heart. She's a badass.
Did she go into the military too, or?
Oh, well, she's the second female to be picked up for Task Force 160.
Oh, wow.
So she's flying the little birds right now for
kidding.
TF-160.
Wow. That's fantastic. And you probably worked with them. You probably worked with them when you were in the teams, right?
Oh, yeah. She asked me what I thought about her going. I'm like, man, if you're a little bird pilot, they're the greatest human beings because you touch them. When you go into the bird, you give them high fives. Mm-hmm. As opposed to the 47 pilots, you're in the back of a big fuselage and never see them. But the little bird pilots there, it's very intimate, and they are always thought were great pilots, and so she finally made it.
Wow,
You
that's
hear
awesome.
some crazy stories about those
And they all
pilots,
wreck.
pulling out their, shooting their MP4s out the side, while they're like at ground
Dropping
level. It's
grenades.
insane.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, great. That's great for her. And thank you both for doing that for our country. It's pretty awesome.
That's super awesome. Now, there was the big bird. Was it because you were like ran over by a helicopter when they dropped you off? When you one of the combat stories that you shared in the book, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
guys jump out
Scary.
and tell us about it.
Well, so the MH-47s, they're the dual prop, and they have four wheels, and they have a big boom out in front, and extra tanks on the outside, and they have a ramp in the back. So we had a rescue mission. The 5th Special Forces Group had got 2 guys killed in a valley, probably 2-hour flight by helo. No, you couldn't drive the rescue mission there, and we were the probably the maybe not the best, but we were a unit that could go in with 2 hours notice and go do it. And the mission itself wasn't as scary as other missions, but we had to land on a 10-foot wide ridge line. He couldn't land all 4 wheels, so it was called a ramp landing. So they hover out in space over a cliff, and they lower the ramp, and you get off. And at night, a 10-foot landing is like 6 inches. You're like, oh my God, Dad. And so I'm the first one off the ramp, and my buckle on my rucksack got caught in one of the ramp bindings. So I'm trying to get off. It's caught, and everybody's coming. It's kind of like, I assume when you're moving into a house with hoses, it's momentum. The front guy can't stop and, chill. And so I look and turn all on nods, and I see him coming, and first guy pushes me, and it breaks the buckle, and I land on my back and roll to my belly. My rucksack is between me and the ramp, and everybody gets off, steps on me. Everybody's laying down. And as the helo takes off, it slides backward over me. So the ramp is lifting up, and I feel it kind of pressing down on me, and then it starts to turn my helmet, and it's a 1 billion ton thing giving torque to my neck. And I remember thinking, I can't do anything. So my head starts turning, and then it unweights right at the last second before I do the 180-degree turn on my neck, breaks my night vision, and I'm like, ooh, that was close. And had blown another guy. The prop blast had blown a guy off the ledge, and that was a fun part. The grenade had fallen out of his vest, and it was between him and the rock, and it still had a pin in it, and we didn't tell him, so we made him sweat.
Yeah,
and this is
you're not gonna die.
Yeah. This is to start the mission.
Yeah,
this is the beginning.
You're just getting dropped off.
Yeah.
As
and then we effected the rescue, and I had a cool thing that maybe it's a bad marker or a good marker. I had located the sniper as the helo rescue was coming in, and effected a 1,200 yard shot on the sniper. I had him pin him down. And I can shoot. I'm like, at least it's a gift that I have. And
yeah,
it was 120 degrees, and I passed out on the gun probably 6 times. And because it was so hot. Wow. And you can't waste water on each other. And I hear the helos come in. I get on the gun, kind of bleary eyed, and 11 mile an hour wind from the right, and adjusted into the wind. And I pre-shot several times, if you know what I mean, because we're taking fire. So I'm going to practice this shot.
Yeah.
And so he pops his head over. I see his gun and his head pop over this little berm, and made the shot. And the rescue party climbed up the hill and got him and pulled him out.
Wow, that's impressive.
It's unbelievable.
Like, how far over is that? Like, on the wind and playing the wind, like how far the wind coming from the right? Like, I mean, are you aiming like?
It's about 32 yards
Wow.
that you're into the
Jeez.
wind.
That's crazy.
I wasn't looking at him. So once I saw him, you put the dots that are on the horizontal stadia line or your horizontal crosshair.
Uh-huh.
There's dots on it that indicate distance. So I put the crosshair to the right, and there was a beautiful bush right where my crosshairs were, but I wasn't looking at the guy. I was looking at the bush to hold a perfect group. It was easier to look at the bush at the crosshair than it was the dot. And if you're not a shooter, that went right in one ear and out the other.
No, it makes sense.
Yeah.
One of the
But it
things,
was about 1.1 second hang time.
Wow.
From shot to impact. I didn't see an impact. Like I came out of battery and I was trying to find out where I'd shot him and couldn't find him again. And he wasn't shooting at him, and we gave him the predicted location. So after they secured the dead guys and rallied the people in the valley floor, 4 guys walked up the hill about 400 yards from them. And then I heard the report that it had gone through his neck.
wow.
He was dead.
Since you brought up being a sniper and you were a sniper instructor later in your career, is that right?
Throughout my career, I taught it 10 times. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
one of the things that you touched on a couple times in both books is really focusing on the basics of whatever you're doing. Shooting was one of them. Another example that I remember you talking about was endurance running, distance running, and you had went and worked with one of the top endurance runners,
Yep.
And he focused so much on form and is really the basics of running. We talk about that in the fire service, where continual training on the basics really reduces that risk exposure when you're actually out, performing those things. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of training on the basics that people might think on the surface is a waste of time?
You guys, it'll probably be resounding for you because you spent years doing this. First time you get taught something, you're learning through a fire hose, no pun intended. Like, yeah. And then, so CQC, all CQC is basics. And then imagine training for a year and a half, and then you have to go back through the training. When you come back from a deployment, you got to go back through training again as a new platoon. That's how we do it. And every time I went back through, I'm like, damn, dude, are we ever going to learn anything else? And this veteran's like, what do you think? You think we're holding something back from you to learn? Like, is it always this basic? And the guy's like, see if you can do it. You say you're capable of doing it. Can you shoot this pattern right now? No. I'm like, damn, I just got back from deployment. I can't even shoot this basic pattern because you don't do the basics anymore. So I was like, man, that's kind of brilliant. So then it's been probably all my adult life. What are the basics of anything? What are the baseline things that if you don't do them, you're screwed? I think I've gotten pretty close to understanding that's where 3 Simple Things came out as a book. What are the 3 simple things that if you do them, you're going to win? Imagine people in the health industry are just going to crush your world. To be healthy, here's 3 things. You have to work out.
Yeah.
A novel idea. You can't hack the workout. You can't do a 6-minute workout, dude. You got to work out. If it has muscle tissue in a joint, work it out. So your muscles and joints and have to move every day. Most people don't even do that. So that's the first of the basics. The second one is you have to be limber and stretch. You have to stretch, especially fire department, you're sitting all the time, not doing anything. You're not getting better by sitting in one position. Get up and stretch. And not that I'm saying that's the solution, but people don't do that simple thing. And then what you consume is the future of your body. And nobody pays attention to that. So the whole industry is based on hyper focusing on stuff that probably isn't baseline principles. So to answer the question, the basics are all that there is. You just hope that you're learning the basics, because some people can come along and teach you things off base. Like industries are off, a lot of industries are off base. And what I've made a living on, probably as a SEAL, is, man, just do the basics. I don't want anybody to do anything advanced. Anytime somebody says advanced to me, means, dude, you're going to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
Basic. What are the basics of this thing? To be a great shot, anybody pull slack out of the trigger, look at the sight or the scope, and then squeeze. If you can't do that, nothing else after that is going to make you, who cares where your feet are? Who cares if you're breathing? If you can't do those three simple things, you're not going to get there. And if you can get there, I can show you in a day how to shoot 1,200 yards.
Wow.
But you got to do them.
Yeah. That's powerful. And I've always heard that something that sets the SEALs apart from, maybe Green Berets or, the Marine Special Forces or whatever is the amount of time that SEALs spend shooting. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've always heard that they spend more time shooting. And just what you alluded to, there's nothing new about that. It's just the reps of getting them, doing it over and over and over again. Clayton and I were talking about that. He shared something that they're doing every Monday, and they call it Mask Up Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's you're donning your turnout gear and you're donning your SCBA mask just to get those reps. And you're gonna see the benefit of that. People are gonna complain about it 100%. People are gonna complain because it's the basic level.
And I'm right with Tom when he says like this advanced thing. I feel like, much like how you'd always talked about with the being the keep it simple, stupid. Just keep everything simple. Why you need to overcomplicate it? Does overcomplicating things make you feel more important or that you're better at your job? Because I don't simply think that does. I think that you being the master of your craft and being able to do all the things that are basic in your job make you the master of your craft, which means in the case of us at the fire department, it's you got to be able to put your mask on fast. You also have to be able to pull the hand line or the hose line from the fire truck in a quick manner and do it proper every time. You got to establish a water supply every single time. These are all these basic ones. It doesn't matter if you're going to a warehouse fire, a single-story house, a two-story house. It does not matter what fire you go to. You always need water to the truck. You need truck water to the hose, and the hose that, like all these basic things. And I feel like sometimes you get so caught up in thinking that's where that complacent thing kind of comes in, or maybe that internal dialogue that you're constantly telling yourself that I already know it. Oh, I've already just, and I hear this all the time. I've been doing this for 30 years, or I've been doing this for, however long. Just because you've had so many birthdays or anniversaries in the fire department doesn't mean that you're great at your job. I always talked about, and I seen this saying that said, practice doesn't always make perfect, but perfect practice does make perfect. So meaning that not only are we going to do the basics, but when we do the basics, you got to do them properly, in that training piece too. And I think that that's where when you complain about it or you want to lack, this is dumb, your internal dialogue's going off of why do I got to do this, mask up Mondays or throw a ladder on Thursdays or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. I try to explore that. Why is that the case? Was it ever different? Like back in the day, they didn't complain. I don't know if back in the day is ever real. You know what I mean?
True.
But when you're in a culture that recognizes the basics they suck, but that's the only thing that we have to learn as a crew or like as a platoon. Nobody wants to go back to the basics. They don't.
And,
You know why? Because it hurts every time you do it.
that's right.
Yeah.
And man, I've already walked 10 miles. I haven't with you.
Yep.
I haven't with you. And I haven't now that I'm 10 years older.
Part of BUD/S, and correct me if I'm wrong, part of BUD/S still teaches you to do those depth readings and, like almost preparing you so you have the skills to go in and blow up a reef or something. That was the original intent, right, of the underwater demolition teams or whatever. You don't use those skills. You probably never had to do that in a real world scenario. Oh, we lost you, I think.
Oh, hold on. So, there we go.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead. I got your back. Sorry. You're good.
Yeah, under the guise of basics, fundamentals, you kind of alluded to another question. So imagine if you got the basics down. We could go on for 16 hours about, training fundamentals is the only thing that required, and people don't want to do that. I've done it before. It alludes to this other reality called things attrit if you don't use them. Skills attrit. So in my world, pistol skills attrit by 10% 2 steps off the range. So if I'm shooting really well, I take 2 steps off. I've already lost 10% of my capacity. Rifle shooting isn't that quick. In every industry that I've witnessed, there's an attrition of skills if you don't use them all the time. And in the SEAL community, people recognize that. When was the last time you did that? Oh yeah, I'm an advanced sniper. When was the last time you shot? Oh, about 3 months ago. Okay. That means you're 0.
Mm-hmm.
And so after a while, you're like, I'm eager to go back in because I know I'm past my window of attrition. And I always want to be around 80%. I never want to always be at 100, because if I'm at 100 in this, then the other 18 things I'm at 0 on. So the teams are about getting people to 80% and keeping them at 80% in all the skill sets, which means you do this for a while, then it attrits, you pick up something else, and you come back to this, and you come back to this, and you never are at 100% ever, which is the weirdest phenomenon.
But that makes great sense.
But at 80%, you're 90% better than most units.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that you asked, when I was in, each SEAL team's ammo budget was more than the Marine Corps.
Wow.
Like my first year in the teams, I shot 280,000 rounds. Me.
Oh my God.
And you can tell a team guy, they have callus on their fingers by loading rounds into their magazines. Like you can see their fingers. You're like, oh my gosh, he's a new guy.
Yeah. I always heard they carried their dominant shoulder was a little bit lower because they spent so much time on the range.
Yep.
Thom, you talked to, being a chief as far as a platoon goes, a leader of a small group and individuals, especially in combat. I want to just touch, I want you to share with the audience, the love that you had for your team. I could tell through the book that you really just had, just like all of us, I feel kind of the same way, just you care so much about your people, where you know them and you know who they are and how they are. You know if there was a misstep there. So can you share a little bit about the Bravo platoon? And then one thing to clarify for me as you share that story is I couldn't tell how many combat tours you went in the book of when you were like chief and when you were under a chief. Because if I remember right, did you start under maybe some poor leadership and then you took over for, can you just clarify that?
Well, the graduation through the teams you're a new guy. just like you are in the fire department. So you don't know anything, and they tell you, shut the fuck up and get in the back. And go take the trash out. So you're like, man, I know I'm better than this. Man, I have a trident. Why am I not important? So that finding yourself first makes you very self-important. I don't know if that makes sense. So you're really hyper focused on you as a new guy because you're attaining skill sets, you're trying to fit in, you're trying to inject yourself as an operator into a veteran platoon of operators. Imagine if you came in between 2001 and 2000, when we ended the war. If you're a new guy, these guys have been at war for 20 years. Imagine going into a fire department that every day they go out and this is your first day. You don't know anything and you don't. So that way of, imagine if you're that guy, you have to focus on yourself. So for a long period of time in the teams, you're self-centered and focused on you, getting your skill sets up so that you can fit in. The transition in the SEAL teams to leadership is another big attrition in the SEAL teams. So it's 50% attrition of platoon chiefs. So they put 2 chiefs into a platoon knowing that one guy's going to get fired because you have to not be self-centered anymore. It's not about you anymore. I've done all the schools. I could do it better than you, but I can't do it. I can't go do your job now. So that transition for me to, if you want to call it leadership, is I don't count anymore. I got to figure out how to get this guy from A to B, even though he's going to fight me some of the times. I got to get to know him. I got to figure out what his skill sets are and where he's lacking. And I got to give him grace to fuck it up constantly, as opposed to me coming in, covering up a screw up and then going, hey, we're good. I let my platoon get exposed to their failures. Like Jocko Willink was in charge of our training and he and I were friends. I'm like, hey, push this. I'm not going to cover anything up, which is why he ended up selecting me to go to Afghanistan, because you guys will handle it. The other platoons or cover-ups. So I became uniquely aware that they counted more than me. And my job was to get them to operate at their best, even though I had better solutions. I never picked how we were going to do any target in Afghanistan. They did. And they taught me through our workup, Chief, we can't do it that way. Like I'd lay out a plan, a mission. We're going to do A, B, and C. We're going to infill here. We're going to hit it on this side. We're going to do an L-shaped ambush. This is how I would lay it out. And they would screw it up. I'm like, dude, what the hell? They're like, we wouldn't do it that way. How would you do it? How about we look at it this way? Like, okay, I don't see how you guys are going to pull that off, but I'm in. Because it's following the basics. You're not doing wazoo stuff, using lasers and thermal barracks or anything that's crazy. If you can cover the basics and do it your way, I'm all in. And they proved to me that they had better insight than I did, which is the hardest part of leadership for me. Is I thought I knew what the hell I was doing. I knew what I was doing, but I didn't know how to get them to do it. And then in Afghanistan, I would literally I called it putting steak on the table. All right, how are we going to eat this steak? Okay, we're going to eat it raw. I'm all in. Let's eat it raw. And they would design everything. And I would just inject some things that they didn't know. Like, hey, we can't do that. We don't have that type of helo. We're going to have to insert daytime. How are we going to do that? And guys had free reign to go figure out problems on their own, which I think it's hard to do as a leader. But I don't want to know how we got that thing. Just
right.
Well,
there's always
tell me you stole it. I don't want to hear it. Yep. Thanks for bringing it. You know,
I've literally said before, I don't want to know. You know,
but it's so true.
But there's always like a proud moment too, and I'm sure you had a lot of these where you're empowering your team is what you're doing. And when they come up with something and it works out, or it just like exceeds your expectations, or maybe you had a doubt about it, you're like, I don't know if this is going to work out, and it turns out to like blow your mind working out well. There's a very proud moment there when you've empowered somebody, they've put it together, and then you see that, you see the fruits of all that labor and what has come of that empowerment. I know I've seen it in my fire department. It's super awesome when you see young people develop.
Well, and I think in the other part, kind of what I took away from what Thom, and even for audience members that are inspiring to be chiefs, or even going from firefighter to lieutenant or captain or battalion chief, it's not about you. That is the most powerful message. It's not about you. Just because you have the rank doesn't mean that, because I feel like so many times that people are, when they're promoted, it goes to their head, and then they feel like, they're the only ones putting themselves up on the pedestal. And if you are the only one putting yourself up on the pedestal, there's no legs to keep you up there. And essentially your crews is the one that's keeping it, in your case, the platoon, where, hey, I'm going to go with it. But as you empower them and more empower them, that you realize, like, now you've got this foundation. And this foundation, because we've, trusted the individuals and we went that way, but it's not about you as an officer. Like, again, to your point, and a lot of things, nobody gives a shit that you're an officer. Nobody cares. They know that you're going to lead us into things, and you got to make some tough decisions at times. But at the end of the day, we got to get stuff done. And that's what's got to happen. We have a job to do.
Yeah. Not everybody does it well. I think I did it partially well. I look back and 100 things I would do different in hindsight, in foresight. I would probably not have gone on half of the things that we went on. Like, I didn't want to go. I'm like, this is going to go bad. In the SEAL teams, we call it the duty blame person. So when things go bad, guess who's not going to be blamed? The guy doing it.
That's
yeah.
I never
Shooter
thought about
does
that.
Something bad, you drive off a cliff. Who goes home? The chief.
Yeah.
If there's a safety problem, you kind of reprimand the guy for doing something stupid, then the chief is fired. So it was the hardest thing for me, going, yeah, I want to be a chief. If this goes bad, it ain't their problem, and I don't even know how the hell they're going to do it. I'm going to be the one to blame.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't have the prowess to go, if it goes bad, it's all on me. Sometimes I can say I didn't have any effect on guys doing something. They would just do it. But if it went bad, it was going to be on me. Like, I can't blame the guy from, risking his life to go do something. I wasn't there. So guys knew that no matter what, they weren't going to be held responsible for it. It was going to be me, but they didn't shove it in my ass by doing stupid stuff.
It's interesting, and I haven't really thought about it this way, but there's trust. There's so much trust when you get to that leadership role. There's trust that goes both ways. So your team has to trust you as a leader, but you're putting so much trust in them because you are going to be evaluated based on the effectiveness of your team. Mm-hmm. So you've got to trust them to do the right thing, but then you also have to, that's where you have to stress, going back to the training thing, you have to make sure they have the right training so they can do it. So they're effective ultimately. Because that's ultimately how you're going to be judged as an officer.
Because remember, we talked a little bit about that yesterday as far as performance evaluations on officers. If you do a performance evaluation on officers, you're looking at them, and in our case, we look at it in two different ways. We look at you of how you are a motivator, how are you controlling your team? What's your team doing? Which your, in our cases, your shift or your crew. And then how are you as an employee? So you're being evaluated in two different ways, and that would be no different than all of us. That however the fire department runs is how you and I are judged, and that's how Thom was judged when he was out in combat. And that's what it all comes back of how your team functions.
Yeah, they're not going to fire the team, right? That's the old adage. They're going to fire the leader.
Yep.
Somebody's
right.
going down.
Somebody's
y'all mentioned a word that I wrestle with hearing. trust does not exist in the SEAL teams. They got rid of the term. People use it on the outside. Like I would listen to podcasts, and yeah, there's a lot of trust in the SEAL team. Like, we never used it. So we replaced the word, because trust in and of itself is, hey, Josh, I trust that you're going to go do something. So it abdicates me being responsible that it happens. If I trust that you're going to do it, I can go, it's Josh. So in the SEAL teams, it's retrust with, or it's replaced with, show me that you did it.
Okay.
So I'm not going to trust. So do you need help? Nobody says, hey, I got this. If it's very difficult, I'm sending 2 people, not because I don't think you know what you're doing. It's too hard to do something. Send more people so that you have more people responsible that X happens. And it never happens until I get told that it happened. So it alleviates all the strain that trust as a word in and of itself. Trust creates tons of strain. So if Josh asked me to go do something, I have kid problems. I have to get there. There's a snow problem. There's I don't like him problem. There's, man, I forgot to bring this problem. If he trusts that I'll do it, I'm like, I'm never going to call him and go, hey, bro, I can't do it. He'll never know. But he's sitting there thinking that it's going to happen. As opposed to, this is a very difficult thing. I'm sending Bill, George, and Dave. Who does it? Who gets done? I want to know. And if I call you at 3 a.m, it's not because I don't trust you. It's because there's other extraneous things going on here that this has to happen. And the teams, I don't trust anybody's going to do anything. Don't trust that I'm going to do it because I'm busy. So every loadout, every time I would put on my gear, what do y'all call putting on your gear? It's a term that you're using.
Just turnout, like you put
turnout
gear. Yeah.
So every time I'm putting on my turnout gear or my combat load, I had a checkoff sheet in front of me, and I would, this is put on, put on, and trust would be one person integrity. I trust that Chief put on his gear. Now, up to that point in time, I'm in the talk doing work. I'm writing, an approval thing for this and validating that this is there. We're calling the helos, making sure everybody's good. And then, an hour before the patrol leader's order, we'd go put on our combat load. And damn it, if every single time I would miss something and I checked it off. So I'd have Mike, a guy at Nike in the book. I'd walk over to Mike's room, hand him the list, and he would touch everything. And he would go, where are your grenades? I'm like, God damn, I put them on the bed. I checked them off and put them on the bed. And I'm like, I don't have, like, prior to that, I didn't have time to go shoot my gun because you have to shoot your gun before you go out. And I'd say, hey, somebody go shoot my sniper rifle and give me a print. I want to see 3 rounds. And they would go do it and bring it back to me. Now I know the sniper rifle's good. And now I don't trust that they didn't take the rounds out of it. So I would clean it myself to know that everything is good on the gun. Here, take my M4 out and shoot it, or my SCAR heavy and go shoot it, and send me and give me a print of the gun. And otherwise, you trusted one person to do something, you're going to be screwed.
That resonates so well with me, Tom. Because I think what we always use the term is like, oh, well, and I'm guilty of it. I say, I trust, but verify. And then the problem is
verify everything.
You got to verify. But then the problem is when you don't verify and you did trust, you didn't do, because if you apply what Tom says, like, if you just don't trust that they're going to tell me that it's done, that's a lot different, because to that point of saying that if I'm just trusting that it's going to be done, if I don't verify, then how do I know it's done? If I don't use that,
the verification, the way to communicate, most individuals don't like to be followed up on.
They don't. They take it as a micromanagement type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the teams, everything is micro. If you were to watch the communication in the teams, you're like, man, you guys are micromanaging each other. No, this is complex shit, bro. So we got to make sure A and B are done before C ever starts. Is the pallet fully loaded and, balanced? Don't trust that. Put 2 people on it, because people forget things, and then they forget to communicate that it's done. So if Josh knows that I'm going to call him, and he's supposed to call me, and if I call you and ask you if it's done, don't get pissed. Just go, oh, dude, I was busy. Thanks for calling. It's going to be another 2 hours. Okay. Now I know it's another 2 hours. I'm not going to be like, man, he's an asshole. He's not trustworthy. Things are so difficult in a combat environment that if you use trust, you're doomed. But if I know that I'm going to be checked off all the time, I'm okay with I don't intentionally make an error and be irresponsible. That the guy next to me wants me to have all my gear. He's not going to say, you're a dumbass, you can't go. They're like, hey, I know you're busy. Here's this. We tested this for you. They'd always give me a fucked up radio, which always drove me crazy.
I remember that from your book too. But
they're like, hey, Chief, it's a lot easier if you don't say anything. Just let us do stuff. So I don't have to walk over.
And then you were on the wrong channel the one time when you needed to use it, and then
well, or they'd have them programmed bad. But it made me. I'm like, okay, I got to be more observant. But tell people what to do.
Yeah, because trusting on like, oh, hey, I trusted last shift that they, check the truck and, well, whatever. And that's the kind of things that always catch us up in the fire department too, is that you relied on somebody else that they did that. And they really didn't. But I also think what I also took away from that too, Tom, is that when you said when you do trust, you're almost like, oh, hey, Josh, I trusted you to do this. It's almost like I have no responsibility in this.
Yeah, I can totally see that aspect of it. Yeah.
Because now who we're blaming? Well, I'm blaming B shift.
The guy that you trusted.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so I like that a lot.
In the teams, B shift would be called back in.
Yeah. In the teams, B shift would be called.
I'm not taking it. Yep, you're coming back in. Oh, no, we've been on a 48-hour shift. Okay, add 12 hours to it.
Wow.
We're not going to touch it. We don't hate you for it, but we're not going to take it.
I think there should be more of that, because I see this in somebody. We actually had a situation where there was an employee that was underperforming, and his coworkers were trying to be good coworkers, and they would pick up his slack. And ultimately it was a disservice to him,
100%.
And that was a hard lesson for us to learn as a department. And for that individual as well, because he was really stifled because of that. And the guy who was doing it was like, hey, I'm just trying to help out, be a good coworker. We're like, yeah, there's a limit to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And not a lot of companies, departments that I've seen post SEAL teams embraces that well. So if I'm struggling with something, it's okay to, hack on somebody, you dumbass, you screwed that up again. In the SEAL teams, the response to people struggling is patience. Meaning if somebody's struggling with a skill or technique and it's recognized, the cadre, when you're in a platoon, so like Team 7, call that a platoon, a team that has multiple platoons in it. A training cadre will come in and teach you something. So if somebody in the platoon isn't good at something, it's identified, not as a bad thing. It's like, Josh has trouble clearing corners, whatever that would be. All right. Guess what we're doing tonight? We're all going to go down and help Josh until he gets it. And he's going to be heckled. You owe us a case of beer. Okay. but the whole platoon gets involved in it, unless, not the whole platoon, but there's always stuff going on. So half platoon is doing something, prepare for tomorrow. And the other half platoon who's not fully engaged, we're going to go down and help Josh. How long does it take? It takes as long as it takes. It's 2:00 in the morning. I didn't get any sleep. If he doesn't make it, none of us are going to we're screwed. So until we get Josh to level 1, we can't progress anyway. Wow, I want to get to the final thing. We may never get to the final thing. Our platoon is only good at level 2. Okay, now we know what this platoon's skill is. And the training cadre will get you to level 10 if you have the skill. But they won't go, hey, this is a level 10, platoon.
That's awesome. That's a great example, because there's so many benefits when you think about that approach. Not only is the person that's behind a little bit, they're going to get there eventually if they keep working on it. Everybody else who's helping them is also improving just by doing the reps, and they can give different ways to do whatever they're struggling with. They can offer different tips, and different things resonate with different people.
Well, and I feel like it gives the ability for, like in our case, like a whole crew then takes responsibility for everybody on the crew collectively. If you can't do it, and I'm out there helping you do it, and we're doing it in however long it takes, then I've gotten ownership into wanting you to succeed, because I'm doing this out here until you get it done, and vice versa if I'm struggling at anything. That we've all kind of taken ownership into each other to say that we need to get through this, rather than just saying, oh, you know what, Josh can't pull the hose, it's his problem. That's his problem.
Somebody else will do it.
Yeah, somebody else will do it, whatever.
Yeah, the underpinning of that's not clear unless you're in a unit that derives success on we're going to fucking die or we're going to win. The underpinning of the SEAL teams is we're in this together. So we got to figure it out. The other thing that you also recognize is not everybody can learn it. So we've put the training cadre did all that they could do. We put extra time into, Billy. He just can't get it done. Excuse me. So, Billy, this isn't the job for you.
That's right. It's a coach him up or coach him out, but
And we love you. Maybe there's a parallel job. Maybe you can go do something for a while. Maybe you can help over here. It's not that you're kicked out and you're an asshole, but what you're doing at this high level, not everybody can do. So you can't come over here and do this. And they're like, man, thank God I can't do this. Yeah. I wanted to, but I can't. It's usually they know that they can't.
100%.
And when you in the teams, when you're relieved, you're like, man, that was so far over my head. I had no idea what I was doing. Okay.
Sometimes that takes a while to realize, right? Yeah. It takes some hindsight and takes some time.
And the major difference between, like, I would say just a big difference between the military and the fire service in that regard would be the different standards that different fire departments hold for their, people. Where in the military you have, maybe different branches might have different standards essentially, but like for us, it's essentially like you didn't make it here, but you just go to the place next door and, maybe they don't have those same standards. So it's not really that big of a deal if you can, do whatever the task is that you just couldn't do 3 months ago or last week. But apparently it's just accepted here.
Yeah, that's a gray space for real.
Yeah.
Why can't people hold standards, and why can other leaders increase the standard and get more people? Some of it's a cover up. And when I took over our sniper course, I just increased the standards.
Yep. And I feel like because
people will rise or fall. I didn't care about getting my friend through, or can we increase the standards to 8 out of 10 shots instead of 7 out of 10? Is it possible? We can always go back to 7, but making the cadre hold the standard ensures that everybody gets taught to standard. And no cut on the cadre that I inherited. They couldn't pass the tests that they were teaching. I'm like, all right, we're going to go out. You can't teach a class unless you can qualify expert on these guns. And the moment that the staff was expert, everybody rose to the occasion. And
that's accountability.
Stalking in the sniper course is so difficult. And nobody wants to go on a stalk because it's hard. It's physically hard. And building your final firing position is an hour and a half of moving, at a snail's pace so that you're under obs and you can't be seen. The people are 200 yards away with binos looking at you. If you're seen, you fail. So it's a weird mental thing. And like, hey, let's go from 70% to 80%.
So,
and the staff, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to touch on culture, and that's what I think you're describing is developing a culture. You're going in there and bringing a new culture to the training cadre. Can you touch on how important it is? And I wanted to talk about just leadership in general at the company officer level, but how important it is to develop that culture and how much impact the leader has on that. And for us, we have paramilitary organization, so you have lieutenants and captains and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So they're in charge of different sizes of groups of people, but we've seen them adopt the personality and the culture of that leader. Can you talk a little bit about?
Well, that's a universal truth of culture. They're a mirror reflection of their boss. 100%. There's no denying it. No matter how you pie that thing off or slice it, you're going to be a mirror reflection of the people that are proximate to you. Sometimes it's the boss. I can't say that the teams are a mirror reflection of the admiral, right? Because he's so distant. He sets some kind of, basis, but I never met the dude.
Yeah.
You're not a mirror reflection of the president of the United States either. Right. I've never met him, so I can't say that I am, left or right, blah, blah, blah. But the culture of the proximate people. So who you spend the most time with, like your direct leader or your tactical leader, that becomes the culture of the organization. Whatever standards, whatever way that he lives or she lives, you will live that way. And if they're weak, you'll be weak. You can't help it. You could have a great culture in a platoon and a new leader comes in, they will adapt to the new leader. And hopefully it goes right. Sometimes it goes left. Sometimes it's stale. And sometimes they go, no, we're not interested. You're fired. So in the SEAL teams, the platoon has an ability to fire their leader.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because it's about the platoon. So if you get a moron leader in there, a lieutenant who is very self-centered, doing it all for himself and not tactically sound and covers up stuff, within 2 months, he's relieved. It happens very quickly.
How many are on a platoon?
There's 2 officers and so it's either I had a 22-man platoon. When I came in, there were 14-man platoon.
Okay.
So there's always 2 officers for sure, a platoon chief, and then what we call an LPO. And that's the leadership, that's the head shed. And then there's operators below them. So for some reason, we boosted up to 22 guys in Afghanistan. So I had 2 elements or 2 squads. And the leaders the officers are administrators. They're not tacticians. So the platoon chief, hopefully you get a tactician. Because if he doesn't have tactical experience that when you were born, he was an operator, like it's got to be 10 years of fighting fires. And if you don't have a good chief, it's doomed.
And that was your role too, wasn't it, Tom? You were the
Yeah.
tactician of the Bravo platoon, so you would have been
Yep.
the one that's leading.
I
So
think
that
I was pretty good. I brought everybody back. So my
That-
definition was how many people you kill and how many people you bring home. You
yeah,
know?
that is awesome. And
Not if people like me, and I don't think they liked me, but it's cool.
yeah, whatever. They don't need to like you. Just, you
Yep.
brought them home at the end of the day, and, they
I
loved you.
gotta say, and so that you'd ask the question, I tried to answer it. An answer to that is you have to recognize that you're responsible to more than their skills. Probably same in the fire department, skill based, but I was responsible to what was going on in their life. You can say that's not important, but Jesus Christ, it's important. They got issues that they don't know a solution for, whether it's at home, whether there's drugs, whether there's bad things happen all the time. And they got to be able to come to you without you going, I have no idea. Just cover that up. So, like, what issues does Bill have? And can we help Bill? If we help Bill through that, his skills are great, but dude, don't let him have alcohol, bro. Okay. Bill,
Yep.
can't drink unless I'm there.
So,
And every time you put a beer in your hand, put your key in somebody else's hand. So the platoon would help people on that level, not as a cover up, but that became the culture of our platoon. Is we have all kinds of issues. We all know we have issues. Don't cover them up. Chief finds out first, no matter what happens. Can't cover up anything. Like if I didn't hear about it, but heard about it through somebody else, you're gone.
Yeah, that's a problem.
If I don't get a 2:00 in the morning call that there's a drug related or alcohol related thing, or somebody's in a fight, there's much things I can do. I could call a fire department to help you. I know a lot of cops that will cover this up, and that became our culture, not cover up, but
Yeah.
I got to know first.
I actually had that written down as a note, and I wanted to ask you about it if we got to it, because I know one of the things that I think if you're in a leadership role, this is going to happen to you, but somebody comes to you with a concern about one of their teammates, or maybe a spouse comes to you and says, hey, so-and-so I'm really worried about him or her. Like I'm sure that happened to you multiple times with that, with that many years in the teams.
Every possible thing, I think.
Give some advice on how you handle those things. Cause sometimes maybe I'm trying to think of, I had one example where somebody came to me and said, I'm concerned about so-and-so. Don't tell him I said anything. And that's a tough spot to be in. How would you handle situations like that? If something was brought to you, I guess if you've had experience, let's hear about that.
Oh boy. I might be the one not to answer this well. I don't cover up anything.
Okay.
I got too tired of the secrets and the mafia cover-ups. So
Amen.
worst case
I feel
scenario,
like
like a
amen.
worst case scenario. So go ahead. Sorry.
I was saying like amen, because like it's, just the transparency of, at the end of the day, we all have problems, and people are all surrounded around problems I think if you bring it to the forefront, then you can provide and find a solution, rather than trying to find a solution of always trying to cover up something, because then you're just like bearing it down.
The different spaces to talk about that. And so platoon space. So in the platoon hut, it's the sacred place. Anything can be discussed here. You're doing drugs. You can talk about it in here, and then we're going to solve it in here. Like, it doesn't have to come up to the chain of command. We're going to solve it here. like I'm going to give you a week off and you're going to go get drug therapy, and I'm going to cover it up from the command. You know what I mean? We had an alcohol related incident. Yep. Can I prevent this going up? Because once it goes up above me, it's a record. And the boss can't not. So if I tell my captain this or my skipper, he can't cover it up. He's got to deal with it. So can I solve it without deception? Once it's solved, I can go to my master chief and go, this is what we have. This is our solution, and it's gone. Yeah. Not that we burned the body and buried it in Vegas type solution, but this is the problem. I solved it. You'll never see it again. Do you want me to do anything else? Selling fucking drugs may be something that I can't cover up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I'm having troubles with my wife. Good. We'll stand in line because everybody else is. So Bill, what do you think we should do? George, what do you think we should do? Everybody gets a say. What's the problem that you're having? God, I like a lot of women. Dude, so do I. What do we do about it? Why don't you talk to her about it? I can't talk to her about it. She freaking knows. She's the one that called me. I think she knows. Maybe we should bring her into the platoon hut. So that sacred place, which is the rarest thing in the world, is you can be yourself in the sacred place, and nobody's going to judge anything that you've done. But if the platoon says stop, you have to stop. Whether it's, something that could be covered up, or, hey, bro, next time you're late, you're just going to get the shit beat out of you. So you have one more day. Unscrew that thing that you're doing.
Something that you...
Not every corporation can do that, though.
Yeah, that's unique.
Yeah.
I think there are some parallels, though. Maybe not to that extreme example, but people trying to take care of each other. Mm-hmm. So I think there's probably more parallels to the real world, just on a maybe a lesser scale.
Yeah, our relationship with our battalion chiefs, and our crews, that they're going to try to handle everything before it comes up to our level.
Yep.
And then they're going to always tell us about what it was.
Yep.
But to your point, Tom, I mean, unless it's they know the line though too, and that's us trusting them. If they're out there selling drugs and doing something illegal, then in our case, yes, it has to be. It gets escalated a little bit quickly, but I think that they've taken ownership into. I think that's the culture we're trying to build here, is just making sure that everybody has ownership of themselves. But then as the officers, you have ownership of your crews. And it's not, to your point, Tom, it's just not about you as the officer. You are now, essentially it's all about your crew.
Yeah. How it really comes to head that makes it all clear is when somebody covers something up that's illegal.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's
happens in SEAL teams all the time. Dude, why are you covering this up? We would have helped.
Yep.
Man, I didn't want anybody to know. Bro, now it's erupted and nobody can correct it. And then you're shunned. Like if you're somebody who's deceptive, even if you're the top dude, and then you lose the bubble and you do something stupid, the teams don't help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You could have done 2 years ago, you could have come to us, but now that Vegas is involved and you're in jail and you're locked up and you got caught selling fucking arms. Okay. I can't help you. And then we eat our own. Once you lie to another SEAL, they will eat you up, which I think is catastrophic. It's just another problem people have, is being deceptive. And I had a lot of grace for people who would do that. In that last platoon, it was probably a lot of luck that none of the stupid stuff happened, because I'd been in the platoon before and they were not so good. They had a bad chief, and I'm like, hey, give me 3 months. If we can't turn this around where everybody's enjoying their day-to-day stuff here at the platoon level, I'll find another place for you.
And that was the platoon you talked about the most, right? That was with Nike and
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
I
I'd
thought,
been with him in Iraq, and it was just, it wasn't a leader's problem. It's just three leaders that shouldn't be on the same planet together.
Mhm.
Individually, they were great. It just, and I'm sure you've seen that they're great people until you put them in the same room, and then, not that I believe in vibration, but dude,
Yeah,
you
there's
guys you couldn't turn a hose on by yourself. What the hell? What's going on here?
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
sure.
it was great because I gave them ownership. I mean, we're going to fail, not because of me, but because of you. So
Mhm.
whatever you need to get your job better, if it's money, we'll find money. Like I even called Ross Perot for money, and he goes, "Yeah, you guys need anything? Yeah, sure. Yeah, we need 100,000. Okay,
Wow.
that's pretty
that's what the
awesome.
guys wanted."
That might be more impressive than knocking on Stephen King's door.
Well, hey Tom, I
Yeah.
watched the movie, and I don't know if you know where I hear this, but I watched the movie American Sniper, and you'd said you'd been an instructor the entire time. Did you instruct Chris Kyle? That was a rumor.
Yeah, and a lot of sniper courses.
Did you?
Yeah.
And because
He wasn't a gifted, so he was not a gifted shooter. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
He wasn't accurate as hell shot where you're like, dude, that guy could. He just grew up hunting,
Hmm.
and he could find the right place to sit, and he would sit beyond stupid time, where he would sit, he'd pee his pants, he'd pee in a bottle, and
Mhm.
sit, and all that stuff that you don't think that obviously doesn't make in the movie, and uh, but he would be at the right place all the time.
I heard
And
I heard him say that he admitted that he wasn't even close to the best shot he had ever seen, but he was in a target rich environment, I think is what he said, and he was just like right place at the right time, and that's interesting.
It was so I'd watched the movie over a couple nights because again, when you hit the bed and fall asleep, as I talked about, so it took me a couple nights to get back through it. But it was after I'd read your book, and it was eerie with the similarities of what you explained in the book of the clearing of these buildings and trying to find that next spot and where you're going to post up at and where how the enemy would come out in these different areas and how they just love those RPGs, and if they're going to have that RPG, they're just going to get taken out. And then I mean, in the one scene, it was like almost to that one point where you guys were like on heavy fire. You talk about a combat that in your book that you guys were like in this building and you were under heavy fire and you thought you were not going to make it out from there. That was when the bullet hit like right next to you, to your head. And there's like a scene very, very close to that, even in the movie American Sniper. And I told my wife, I'm like, man, Tom explains this like I just was like, what was wrote in that book is exactly what I feel like I'm seeing right now.
Well, yeah, some of the scenes in the movie in actuality, they were different, obviously. And Chris got pinned down several times. And in those moments of being pinned down, everybody has the same experience. I could quit. It's much more calm to quit and not fight. Most peaceful experience you'll have in a shitty environment is giving up. Probably same in a fire. If I just don't fight, it's going to burn me here in about a second and a half. If I fight, there's pain involved. I may not make it out, may lose a limb, blah, blah, blah. So in the moment when things go to shit, it's much more difficult to fight your way through it. And it you don't recognize that it's scary, but the only thing you can think of is 2 inches. I got to go 2 more inches, 2 more inches, and 2 more inches. And it feels like those 2 seconds or 2 inches are a lifetime. And a lot of conversations. Chris and his wife Taya would come over to our house before he got out, before all that stupid shit happened, and we would talk through combat situations. And he'd be like, "Dude, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm like, neither do I, bro.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about that, everything's out of control. Because nothing makes sense. Because I didn't even want to go home. I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't care about anything. And he'd say, I just kept going, I can't stop here. I got to go to the next place to stop. And that mindset is, you think it would be clarity. I'm fighting for my country. All that is crazy. God, what this next second, what can I do? And this next second, what can I do? And you just, this then circles back to our first conversation. Just do the basics, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get up, then get up. I can crawl. How far can I crawl? I can crawl a lot of 1 inches.
Mm-hmm.
If it ends up being 6 miles, crawl a lot of 1 inches. And to me, those situations are, however, the most clear. But only thing is clear is do this next thing that I know I can do. I can put on my gear.
Mm-hmm.
I can step over here. I know how to shoot. Well, why don't you just shoot? That might be a really good idea right now.
Yeah.
Get on the gun and shoot. But you don't want to. It's like, dude, it's all done. We're going to die. Oh my God. And I say it flippantly now, but in the moment you're like, this is over.
Yeah.
I'm the lone survivor. Like when I got blown up in the room, I was laying on the ground. It was so peaceful. Fuck, it's over. Finally, I could just sit here, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I don't say that often, but it was like, yeah, my daughter's going to get married to somebody else. So I'm not going to be there. Okay. And it was peaceful. My son will never see me again, but it wasn't me fighting. The only thing that jocked me forward was yelling at me, don't fear dying. It makes you weak, and fight your way home.
Wow.
And that mental change, I sat up going, now I got to fight, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to suck. I could have stayed right down there and just let it all bleed away. And it's not like, yeah, I can't wait to do this. This is going to suck even more than anything I've ever done. And then I rallied and ended up shooting that guy. He shot my helmet off, had to do it again. And then, oh my God, I made it through this. Boom, roof blows up. Oh my God, we're another 2 inches.
Was that when Nike got blown off the roof?
Yeah.
And then, okay.
He was dead. In my brain, he was
dead. Yeah, that's what I thought. And then
Caleb was dead. I went and grabbed him and pulled him into the room. He was dead. He was laying there dead. And even though I was a medic, I didn't think of checking his pulse.
Because you knew it.
You knew what to do.
Basics, bro. So I checked his pulse and he was alive. So I started patting him down in the right pattern. And he opens his eyes and says, we're screwed. He used the F word.
Yeah.
And what do you mean? Because you don't process encouragement and empowerment. We're going to do this. It never comes across your brain to be encouraged to do that. And he just kept repeating that. And I like, best leadership call I ever made. Hey, Caleb, you and I are going to fight till we're dead. Here's my pistol.
Mm-hmm.
And all the blood ran right back into his head, and he's like started processing. He's like, okay, I can do that. I'm like, I don't know what we're gonna do, but at least there's two of us doing it. You know,
there's a life lesson in that too.
There is.
You know what I mean? Yep. Obviously on a different scale again, but there's definitely a life lesson there.
Was that the same one? Because there were so many stories I completely enjoyed out of your book. But was that the one where he's like, "Give me the can of chew. I cannot. My gun does not work unless I need that." He needed the chew.
Our third mission, we took over the capital of Helmand, called Marja. It was supposed to be a 2-day mission to go in, confiscate all the black tar opium, which represented $3 billion of black tar opium, which was like 300 billion. Wow. It was their 3/4 of the Taliban budget. In hindsight, I would have gone, I wonder if they're going to fucking retaliate. You know what I mean? So what started out as a 2-day mission ended up 5-day mission, and we were getting about an hour and a half sleep a day, which is like, I remember talking to Mike. I'm like, bro, this is why we go through Hell Week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I don't want to be here. This is stupid. Ran out of water, food, ammo every single day. So this is day 3. We're on the roof together in a sniper position, and 3 guys are about 250 yards coming at us. And I could see one in my field of view, and I popped my head up and I could see Mike had 2. I wasn't concerned because I know he could shoot because we've been shooting all day. And I popped my guy, and I look over and he's not shooting. He's laying on his side. I'm like, damn, he's kind of hit. So you okay? He goes, Chief, I'm out of Copenhagen, man. I'm like, what do you mean you're out of Copenhagen? Shoot those 2 guys. He goes, no, I'm done. I'm not going to do this job anymore. And he was nice and relaxed about it. And so I get the Copenhagen out of my pocket, and I weak arm throw it. It lands between us where bullets are coming through. And I remember looking at him like, I'm not going to grab it. You going to grab it? So he nonchalantly, not stands up. He gets onto, one knee, and rounds are ting, ting over our head, reaches over, grabs it, puts it in his mouth, puts it in his pocket. And he goes, I'll keep it. And, nonchalantly gets back on his gun, pops the 2 guys, and turns over, and he's like, hey, what's your wife doing tonight? I'm like, I think he's sociopathic. And later I was talking to him about that. He goes, I don't want to talk about work. I do not want to talk about work. I'm like, why? He goes, I don't want to think about work. Mm-hmm. Okay. He doesn't want to talk about work. What do you want to talk about, Mike? In middle firefights, we're talking about boobies, butts, and beer. Anything to prevent him from thinking about the job that he was doing. And I thought that was, man, I'm a bad leader that he's doing that. Hey, if Mike wants to talk about something and he's executing his job, you want a foot rub, Mike? I don't care. Whatever it takes to get you and get back on the nest to do your job. I don't know if it was the best form of leadership, but I didn't fight.
I think it's a great, because what you did is just be able to bring them back to whatever they were going to be, this clear mind. Because again, where you always went back to is don't fear dying, it'll make you weak. And then that kind of gave you this rally about you, or Stacy gave you this rally about you, where you had to put him in a spot in his mind that he could begin to rally. And however that was, some people had music, and some, I'm sure, and that's just where they went to their place. And that's just what happened.
The tough scenarios that I realized probably of the 6-month deployment, about 4 months into it, I'm like, we're probably not going to make it. This is so freaking hard. We had a lot of luck. And I said, we had a platoon meeting. I'm like, hey, I don't mean to be negative, but we didn't make it this far because we're smart. So we're getting jaded. We're not even ducking anymore. We're thinking that we're all that. This is right before the Silver Star target where we got the shit beat out of us.
Yep.
And, Mike, just so you know, we have to reset right now. We have to go back to square one because we're overextending ourselves. We think we're cool. And I think we'd had like 180 kills up to that point in time, which is a lot. Mm-hmm. And we're not talking about it anymore. It's just like, it has no effect on us anymore. Nobody's worried about killing or being killed. Nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about safety. Next target. I said, we're going to take 5 days and we're not going to plan. And my lieutenant was like, you can't do that. We got a mission coming up. No. So we took time off. Not that we could drink and party. I'm like, until I'm clear that we're back on par, we're not going to take on any more targets.
And that was a hard decision for you, if I remember right, too.
Yeah, I was going to be fired.
Yeah, because SEALs...
My master chief was going to fire me.
Yeah, okay.
You can't do that in combat. I'm like, fire me, send me home. I'd be happy to go home, bro. But I don't want to go out on another mission until we're clean.
Yeah.
Did that do it?
They don't care anymore. They don't care. They don't care about dying. They don't care about the target. Mm-hmm. It's getting sloppy. People are putting sloppy work in. uniforms. Not that uniforms being squared away are a sign of anything, but people wearing tennis shoes on target because they forgot to put on their boots. I'm like, something's going to happen.
That's right.
It's going to go bad.
That's right.
So when you brought that to their attention, was that break and just bringing it up to them? Did they realize that? Did your guys realize that?
Two of them called me.
Yeah.
So you risk averse. You don't want to go into combat. Like, so your response to me is that I'm a That's what I'm saying. You saw me doing all this work, and now you're going to say that? We're not paying attention at all. And I don't know what's going on, but we're not even at 80% of our capacity. And my direct boss is like, I'm going to send you guys home. I'm like, neither are you. You're not up to par either. And as it wound out, about 3 days is all we took where we were not tasked. Then we got tasked with a hard target, which ended up being the Silver Star.
It's tough to be
probably
objective.
I don't know if we would have been better had we just walked right into it. I always second guess that, but that made us a little more present to what the heck we were doing.
Sometimes you've got to.
I second guess the hell out of everything I did, but yeah.
Who doesn't, right? We all do. We all do that.
Yep.
After you were, so I know that we've taken up a bunch of your time, Thom. I really do appreciate it. There's a couple other things I just wanted to touch base on though. That I think is kind of relates back to the fire service as well too, is when you completed being a Navy SEAL and you had all these years and that's all you knew, essentially. That's what you knew until you got out. And then it's like finding this new purpose. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you were able to, maybe find your new purpose after being in the SEALs? Because I do feel like retired firefighters go through this, and any sort of law enforcement firefighters that we have this purpose. And what I recall from you saying is that you just felt like being a SEAL, you impacted and had you impacted change. You're always doing something and with an impact of change, where in our service, we feel the same way. We feel like we are making a difference every day and that we have the ability to make change, and we have, but then if you're out and you retire, then what? And so now you begin to question that purpose. And how'd you find that? Besides, I know Stacy kind of, forced that a little bit on you to find that purpose, which is good to have a rock, but can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, isn't this the $1 billion conversation? Everybody searches for this. I can't say that I can articulate it well. While you're in a unit that serves, because you guys provide a service, it's high risk. While you're in spec ops, I don't think people get in to be of service. They just want to go do bad things. That's probably not the same as the fire department. But in those units where you are being trained and you're expected to keep, your training up and you're doing difficult stuff, the analogy is that your life and the people around you, there's a bucket of water in front of you and everybody's hands in the bucket. A new guy moves his hand, it creates a ripple. The admiral moves his hand, creates a ripple. So everybody is affecting everything while you're in. A new guy affects the admiral because the admiral has to deal with it. Not all companies or organizations are that way, but you feel important, impactful, and you have a life of meaning while you're in a unit like that. When you get out, I have an admiral friend of mine that was the admiral or the skipper of SEAL Team 6. He had the greatest conversation to it. He said, on Friday, I was listening to top secret briefs and I was making decisions. On Monday, it was over. It was over. And they wouldn't even let me back in. I couldn't even ask about how those decisions are going to be carried out. And I I went from important to irrelevant in 2 days. And he goes, well, how the hell did you recover? I said, I don't think I recovered. I just found something to be relevant in. I knew, so I from the things from the book, there are 5 areas of every human life. While you're in the fire department, you have to be healthy. You have to keep learning. You're getting paid to do something. You're in a relationship with the bros and at home. And there's a reason for it. Like there's some spiritual reason that you're going into a fire to save some that you don't know. That's a spirituality. So those 5 areas, even though I didn't explain them well, I had a mentor when I got out said, hey, those 5 areas that you wrote in your book, you have to be involved in them now. Don't spend a year not being involved. So as quicker you can get healthy again. So I'm like, how the hell would I do that? So I did the stupid stuff going, I'm just going to go do ultra marathon running. So immediately I got involved with stupid physicality like the teams. And the advice I was given was have those a goal in all those 5 areas and have it quick. Then it's up to the individual. You don't have to go work for, Rand Corporation. You don't have to go work for something, but you have to get involved quickly. If you don't get involved quickly, you stop getting involved and you can't get back involved. So the longer you're irrelevant in those 5 areas, you're just now your internal dialogue is I'm irrelevant. And it's easier to booze your way to relevance and to not engage because I validate that I'm irrelevant all the time by not being engaged. So with, a sleeker way of saying that is next target, the next fire.
Yep.
I'm not in the fire department anymore. So
apply
whatever you learned, apply it right over here and do it quickly.
You were extremely, at least the book comes across that you were extremely deliberate when you were thinking about this stuff. I mean, you sat down, wrote a plan, wrote steps to do it. I think that would be beneficial because I had that written down as a note too, because I really wanted to ask about that transition to retirement. And I shouldn't say that because it's not a transition to retirement. It's a transition to something else,
Yeah.
And I heard somebody else mention that it was, but before you leave the teams or whatever you're doing, have your next mission in mind because you're going from one and it's clear. I mean, it might change, but overall it's a clear mission.
Yep.
And before you leave that one, have another one ready to go, and I thought it was really cool. Your approach, it just seemed very deliberate. And I think that would be beneficial for everybody to do.
Well, a sleeker way of saying that, maybe a 5-year-old way of saying that, which I call sleek. If you can convince a 5-year-old, you're in the house. While you're in the fire department, while you're an operator, each of those 5 areas are goal driven. When you're in the fire department, your health is goal driven. Even though it's not my goal. The damn chief gives me this. I don't really want to climb this ladder 100 times, but there's metrics to success in those areas of life. You just got to be smart enough to go, what's my next physical goal? Well, I'm not in the fire department. I don't care. So what's your next thing that would scare you to do and piss you off that you have to go do it? Climb Everest. Not that it has to be that lofty.
Yeah.
What's your next business goal? Well, I don't really have a business goal. How do you measure success, Junior? Well, I want to make $40,000. Good. It's a goal that you can either hit short or hit right on or hit long. You know what I mean? So have a goal, and I've been able to articulate this really well. Here's what a goal is. It has to answer these 3 questions. What is it? When is it going to happen? And where is it going to happen? If you, as a department, have goals that clear, everybody's got to buy in.
Yeah.
Like whatever your goal is of this fire, if it's clear, everybody can articulate it. What's this week's goal as a company? I don't know. We do activity. No. Working out's not a goal. Working out to go run a marathon is a goal. So, articulated this way. If your goal is to make $30,000 a month, there's multiple things that you can do. And it's a metric.
Yeah.
Where Stacy can go, okay, we're 4 more days in the month. How much money have you made? Why are you nagging on me? Well, you put it out there. All I can do is either relate to it or, not relate to it. And that is what I learned. I knew it in the SEAL teams. To be goal driven is a much better life than to wander through and letting the world tell you what to do. And then the mentors that I had on the outside were all goal driven. I'm like, why are we not making that clear? You don't have to know how to get there. You just got to say, this is what I think success would look like for me to work for Goldman Sachs. Go for it. I don't have a college degree. Okay, go for Goldman Sachs. What do you need? I need a college degree. Oh man, we're on step 1. You know what I mean? But they don't. So people retire and thinking retirement means I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to have lofty things. You will collapse. The human condition without a goal will collapse very quickly, no matter what your age is.
Yeah, that's important in the fire service too, because there are so many parallels, and people are putting in, probably average 30 years in the fire service now when they retire. So it's getting up there a little bit, and all of a sudden, you don't have that anymore. And you're right. It's Friday to Monday. It's one day, and that organization keeps on trucking, and
it's like
you're not a part of it.
You live up to that moment. Like for so long, you're like, oh, I'm gonna, like you can retire, because you hear you're around these guys that are getting close. Hey, and they get close, and then like maybe a couple years, maybe like a year out, they're like kind of talking about it excitedly. I'm going to retire next year. It's going to be this and that. And then as it gets closer, you can tell like there's this almost shift. They're scared. And I can see it. Now they're like, I'm going to be retiring in a couple. It's just, and then they'll always give you this, it's an eerie feeling. And I'm like, you could tell like, then that's where they're trying to figure out what is next. And so helping to be able to give them a little bit of advice about like what you had said, Tom, find your next mission. What is your what is that next fire you're going to put out and work towards putting that fire out each and every day after you retire, I think is going to be the help driver fact,
It doesn't have like a vision or a mission, never clear.
Yeah.
When you're in, you got all you guys talking about it to make it clear. When you're out, imagine if you didn't have any cohorts, you were the only chief. You wouldn't have clarity.
No.
Like, God damn, we got 18,000 things. Man, let's just let the world tell us what we're going to do. So I have a fire chief from that went through my training that retired and reached out. He goes, I'm lost, bro. I'm like, well, that's a pretty cool way to introduce yourself. He said, how'd you transition? I'm like, you got to get back on. Well, I'm irrelevant. No, dude, listen, you didn't retire from the fire department. You completed it.
Yeah. You
completed high school. You don't still think about high school.
Yeah.
Oh my God, just move on to the next better thing. He goes, there's nothing better, man. That was the greatest life I could live. Bro, that's over. All you can do is move on. Well, my back hurts. Bro, I broke my back too. So
that internal dialogue, turn that internal dialogue down.
Figure it out. And so he goes through training, and he's in the process of writing a book about his experiences as a fire chief, or his 32 years in. And he goes, man, I'm irrelevant, man. And I said, your kids think you're irrelevant too.
Yeah.
He goes, what? they think you're irrelevant too. You get back on and watch how much they flourish. So he goes through our training, and then he starts engaging, because he goes, man, the last 2 years as a fire chief, I didn't engage my family because I was scared to get out. And so he brought all his daughters through the training, which I thought was pretty cool. And they are wicked cool now.
Yeah.
But he was going to get divorced. He was on the brink of a heart attack, and his daughters were going haywire. And now they're a tight knit unit. And his youngest daughter is now down in New Zealand competing for world shearing competition.
Wow.
Whatever the hell that
means,
is.
yeah.
She goes, I want to be the top shearer in the world. I'm like, what is that? She goes, I'm excited about it.
Me too.
And Dad got excited about it.
That's cool. I mean, that story alone,
shows his purpose. After Tom's,
makes a lot of everything you're talking about worthwhile right there. I mean, you're literally, helping hold a family together and giving somebody purpose. And that's very powerful right there. That's awesome.
There's that
awesome
coming
story.
to Jesus with your wife that you have to do, though.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for treating you like shit for 30 years.
Yeah. Tomorrow's a new day.
Tomorrow's a new day. Friday to Monday.
Yep.
You still running, Tom, or what are you doing now? Tell us about what you're doing now. Besides you're doing the classes, people signing up for those things. Is there what else you still, because you talked about doing some running and how you learned adventure racing and things of that nature. Are you still doing that?
Well, so yeah, those 5 areas, I have a great mentor, and every 3 years, throw everything out and start over. If it makes it back on the table, it makes it back. Like throw your marriage out, if it makes it back on the table, then keep it. And it's a weird way to look at it, but reset, disrupt every 2 to 3 years. So this year was a disruption year. And so what we as a group of people do, we were asked to put on off-site immersive experiences to share our skills and our things that we've learned in our life. So I get 3 or 4 SEALs together who are actually, not all SEALs are good in front of other human beings. So it was harder to get the SEALs than it was to get leaders to come. So we use these offsite events that we call the baseline. And it's easy to teach people how to do basics if you immerse them into something visceral. So we use pistol, rifle, and carbine to teach how to make something complex simple, and then have closed door around the fire discussions about what in your life is complex and what can, from our experiences, can we help you with on the business side, on leadership side, on how to be a better dad or how not to be a bad dad or whatever the conversations are. So this year we have 8 scheduled events that are beginning to fill up. And I personally just take on 10 clients a year because it's difficult work. And we are investing in a company called RMI Health, which has stem cell research down in Costa Rica that recovers people like you guys that have been beaten down for 30 years, physically, emotionally. And I went down and did one session. I'm like, dude, I'm 20 years younger. What in the hell just happened? Wow. My back recovered, my shoulders recovered, even I had 3 discs that were just destroyed in my back. And 3 months later, the 80% recovered. And I can bend down, I can change my clothes. So physically, I got into mountain biking as opposed to running. Like I just threw running out. which was stupid because now my son's a ultra runner and I can't run with him. I can, but it's like, Dad, I'm 18. I want to go do a 50 miler. So he goes out on his own, runs 50 miles. I'm like, dang, he learned something.
Yeah.
And, but as a business, we do these offsite events for companies and individuals, which is, I wish I'd have come up with the whole idea myself, but an ex-Ranger friend of mine who raises capital for real estate came through and did one of the events with me. He goes, dude, we should do this professionally. I'm like, man, it's too complex. He goes, I'll get people there. You just do your thing. And, you teach how you teach. Last year we did 7 of them. This year we're going to do 8. And they are wonderful to go to, even as an instructor. I feel like I get a PhD every time I go. And then I just pick up, and I'm the dad side of me is my son wants to be a SEAL, and I'm trying to talk him out of it, and I can't talk him out of it, which is the greatest indicator that he'll do it. And I got my middle boy through years of patience and trying to figure out how to be a dad, that he finally graduated from college, and he's in a master's program, which high school, he was an F student. He graduated from Clemson 3.9.
Oh, really? Wow. That's awesome.
And I'm like, dude,
What's his
I had
master's?
to go. I had said, Garrett, I can't, you won't do it my way. What would you like me to do? What kind of help do you need from me? And he goes, why, I don't know. I'm like, there's no more money. You got to figure this out. And taking the rug out from him made him flourish.
Wow.
I don't even know where to look. There ain't no money. You got to figure it out. And he now says, man, that was the greatest day, worst and greatest day of our life. Like, you're on your own, bro. So he stumbled. He goes, I hate to study. Nobody likes to study, Garrett. Just figure out how you want to do it. And he figured it out.
Well, end us, Thom, and why don't you end us with your rock then? Talk about Stacy, because I feel like she was a huge impact to why we're even here and talking today. And so why don't we end there and tell us all about, how that is and how important it is to get it right at home and to have those tough conversations with our support systems and the transparency that it does lead to, better professional lives, but also, better, stronger marriages for all of us. Cause I know we struggle with it in our type of work as well.
So Stacy and I will be married 21 years. She was divorced twice before we got married. I was divorced once, had 2 kids. Never was I ever thinking that I would get married again. An operational SEAL who's never around with 2 kids. What a great billboard advertisement for marriage. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And we came clean on like date 2. These are all my flaws. This is what I screwed up in my first marriage. This is the person that I want to be. And these are the things that I want to do in the near future. Are you interested? Because we were both older. I'm like, I'm not going to waste your time. I want a woman that wants a family, not a stay-at-home mom. I didn't want her to stay at home. I wanted her to have a great life, whatever she wanted to pursue. And I said, I don't really care about money. I want to have life. To me is more important than money. I want money, but I don't want to chase it at the demise of myself. So that was 21 years ago. We also, I have a more of a spiritual mentor that said, every 7 years, you got to get remarried. I'm like, why? He goes, by the way, every 7 years, you're not the same human being anymore. Shit changes too much. So we've been remarried 3 times. Like, we really go, the people that we were before don't anticipate me being there anymore. I'm not a SEAL anymore, or I'm not that young dude that, can do X, Y, and Z. This is what I want to be in the next 7 years. This is where I want to go. Where do you want to go? And we align every 7 years. I recommend that highly. If you've not redone your vows, throw that old you out. It ain't coming back, and neither is she. Start from here and move forward. And we just redid it. And out of redoing it, she goes, Thom, I don't like working with you anymore. I'm like, what do you mean? Like marriage? Started to cry. She goes, no, I'm second fiddle in your business. I want to start my own. And I was like, is it going to cost money? She goes, I don't know, but I'm not going to work with you anymore. So she has a web-based cooking show that has probably meant more to our marriage, the amount of energy and family we get from that. And it's now beginning to monetize. I didn't even care if it monetized. Just to have her do something that every morning there's fire and electricity. And we probably, if you ever want to have good food, come over to, I'm like, our kids come home and like, Dad, we don't want to go out, dude. Can mom cook?
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so that experience of being, I call it being authentic with each other, where anything can be expressed, and resetting. Oh my God, reset. Not to tell all your secrets, but reset. Don't anticipate your spouse is that great hot chick that she used to be, or you're that stud that they wanted, because you ain't anymore. Mm-hmm. And yeah,
that's awesome.
Move forward with each other, or find somebody you can move forward with. Having an anchor is the most devastating thing to a man ever. Sometimes it's the men are stupid as shit that they don't allow their women to grow. You want to have a great life, have your wife grow beyond her potential or what you think she is. And whatever you're doing will bloom at a level that you cannot even fathom. But you got to stop being a douche. I tell all men that.
Yeah.
You're the problem,
that's
bro.
Right.
You're the problem, not her.
Yeah, that's, I could agree with that. Well, this is.
I know I'm the problem. She tells me, yep, you're the problem.
Yep. Yeah. The funny part is you keep dealing with the problem, you know, thank you for dealing with the problem, you know, is what we remind. What's the cooking show? So, you know, what is the cooking show?
Different wording on different social media I think it's called Make It with Stacy.
Make It with Stacy. Okay.
Which is a little sexually provocative. I'm like, why did you choose that? She goes, the AI chose it. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Gotta get in that algorithm somehow.
For all the audience members that need to learn how to, you know, make any food or whatever else, so, you know, Make It with Stacy. We're going to share that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Thom, this has been awesome.
Greatest experience in the world. Having a great family.
I'm sure. I know it's you know, when you said you've been married for 21 years and likewise. So my anniversary is in May. I got married when I was 20 years old, and we had been dating since I was 15. So we've been, you know, but I never heard anybody put it in perspective like that. We've always joked about, oh, we need to renew our vows and stuff, but never to like what you said, to that like trueness of throw away that person, that last person, that 7 years. Cause you're so right. You're so right. Yeah. Because each phase of our life as we raise kids and we move to next chapters, we are all changing and growing, that we're not that same person, you know?
Yeah. And your kids aren't that little kid that had a diaper.
That's right.
And don't treat them that way.
Yep. That's so true. I love it.
Yeah. When we redid our vows this time, our kids bloomed. They're like, man, we love it when you guys reset because you treat us differently. Like, really? Yeah. I'm like, dang.
Yeah. That's impactful.
Unintended consequences of greatness, you know?
Yeah. That's super impactful.
Yep.
All right.
Well, thanks y'all for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we really appreciate it, Thom, too. Just had the pleasure, the honor, you know, reading your book, and then obviously getting to meet and talk to you so much more was fantastic. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a real
pleasure. Where in Ohio
man.
are you?
We're in Northwest. We're in Northwest Ohio. So, just right up in the corner, Toledo area, is where we're located. Josh is out of Findlay and I'm out of Oregon. And then the Ohio Fire Chiefs Association, is situated in Central Ohio in Columbus. And so, like I said, we had this came out of the education committee. And, you know, it's something that we feel like we're wanting to try to make a bigger impact on the fire service as a whole, because we do feel like there is a much needed thing as far as young individuals coming in. And that's why when I heard your podcast and then read your book, I'm like, it's just going to be so impactful for the audience of the people we're really trying to touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of SEALs get out and get in fire department to stay relevant. They want to be with a group that's doing something that they kind of feel like is similar. So
Yeah.
I don't know if a lot of SEALs make it all the way to Ohio, but a lot in Oregon and Colorado and places where not all departments pay, but the ones that do, you find a lot of great people in.
For sure.
That team environment is what we're all striving for. I mean, that's what we're trying to build at our departments. And that kind of culture is, I think, what people are looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Perfect.
All right. Well, hey, thanks a lot, Thom. And for all the audience members out there, thank you for tuning in and sticking with us for the 2.5 hours. I hope you really enjoyed it. Visit the notes in the sections. I'm going to have a few different links down there. That's going to lead you straight to Thom's Unbreakable, the book. And then also the book, 3 Simple Ways, or 3 Simple Things. And then, of course, we're going to have it Make It with Stacy.
Make It with Stacy.
Yes. Then we're going to have a Make It with Stacy as well. So, again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks again, Thom. We really appreciate it. And thanks, Josh. So this has been great.
Thank you for tuning in to the Triple P Podcast, Premier, Professional, and Proactive, brought to you by the Ohio Fire Chiefs Association. If you'd like to hear more, follow us on Spotify, Apple, Google, or wherever you get your podcast.